Hello, this is the secretary training for those with 2 years of experience or less through OME-RESA. This is a companion to those who saw it in person or on Zoom already. I'm going to follow the same agenda that I did for them. And what that's going to be, I'm going to maneuver through student information. I'm going to show how to register students, add absences, some reports in the Analytics Hub, ad hoc memberships, student profile bulk update, and then some easy query. I'm first going to show you, if you're not aware, one of the best places to go to test anything out, or if you're not sure, you don't want to mess up a student's record, go to our PB Play, or what we call Dazzle Play. And what that means is you can do whatever you want within the system, within student information, and it's not going to affect the student's actual live record. Okay, so if you go to our website, OME-RESA Home, hover over Support, and go down to PB Play, scroll down, and then you're going to click here to enter SI Play. You're going to leave the domain as omeresasys.net and use your normal progress book login. I am going to go to the OME-RESA Fake District. Okay, so maneuvering through student information, I'm just going to do a quick overview, and then we will touch on more of it as we go through some of the other applications. This right here, this little caret, if you click on that, that's going to bring up the whole progress book suite. So if you are a district that has data map, you can go right to data map. It'll open it in a new tab, the grade book, and then classic special services. If you're one of the districts that's still on that compared to same goal, then you would click on this one. Do not click on that one. That one does not work. So you just want to go to classic special services. Next to it is what we call the hamburger. And it's just the menu. And as you can see, it has the carets next to each heading. You may or may not see as much as I do. You're most likely not going to see everything that I do. But if you hit the caret, it can bring up the menu that way. Or you can hit directly on the heading and it'll bring it up in this type of menu form. When we refer to a breadcrumb trail, if I said you wanted to look up a student's assessments, let's say, so you're at SIS, that begins your breadcrumb trail, student, assessment, and we'll say it's preschool ELA. This is what we're referring to as a breadcrumb trail. So if we say, what breadcrumb trail are you following? That is what we're asking. And then you can always, these are like hyperlinks, so you can just click right back to student and bring up that student menu once again. And each one of these works that way. They're all going to produce a breadcrumb trail. If you come over here, then we have the building that you are in, and to make sure that you're in the current school year. This is what I call my little person, like from Fisher Price. This is you. This is your information. So it's going to say that you're logged in. I am logged into Play. And up here, it also says Play, so always make sure that's what you're looking at. It says to change password here. I do not suggest that because we have that password management utility, and that is the best place for you to change and to recover your password. And then if you only work in the one building specifically, you can save it as your default school. Then you can sign out. And I suggest anytime you leave your desk, you sign out, because we don't want anybody going onto your computer and messing with any information, because your name is tied to whatever is done on that computer under your name. There's carets next to the year so that you can toggle through. Right here, this paper icon is the Analytics Hub, and we will go through that later on. The bell is if you are subscribed to anything or if you receive notifications. Then you have your gear where you can print. This is your batch management screen. So anytime you run a student information report, it goes to that batch management screen. And then the help icon. This is where I got all of the documentation that I'll be referring to. So for registering students, I went to procedural checklists, and under the student section, student registration procedural checklist. Then we have the attendance procedural checklist. And as you can see, there are many different procedural checklists that you can look at. You got your fees, honor roll, pre-ID information, schedule changes, and then under the product guides is where I get the easy query guide. So this is a great resource, and they also have a training tab, which has videos on here as well. This group of little people right here, that is what we call the advanced search. This is what is really important during my registration section, and I will show you how to use that even more so. But if you bring up the advanced search, you have all these different tabs to search by. If you just know the last name, their SSID, you can search here. You can always uncheck search this school only so that it is searching throughout the district for that year. The additional info, this is where you can search by grade level or homeroom, counselor. The miscellaneous, if you want all of your active students to appear on a list. Any alerts that you have set up, if you want all your disability alerts to show. Within a course section. And then there's search all years. And that's literally going to search all the years in the database if that student has ever been within your district before. And that's going to come in handy when we do registration. Then if right here is the find students, if you know the last name, you can just type it in right there. And I'm going to bring up Hallie Brown. And it's going to bring up Hallie's information for you. This is what we say. She is a student in context. And you can look at her information a couple different ways. You can click directly on her name. And it's going to bring up her EMIS information, birth date, and her address. And if you have photos available, it'll be there. And also the I want to menu, where you can go straight to their profile or schedule, report card, absence intervention. It has her student ID, her grade level, what status she is, the homeroom she's assigned to, and then the default calendar that she's assigned to. And then you'll see her alerts. As you can see, there are two different types of medical alerts, one without a white background and one with a white. The one with the white, as you can see, it's life-threatening. So if you just click on any of those, it'll tell you why it's life-threatening and what the issue is. And then you have the fees, if she has any fees. And since I searched just by the last name, I didn't go straight for Hallie Brown. You'll see these arrows. She was the first Brown on the list, so I can't go backwards, but I can go forwards until that arrow grays out, and that's all the Browns on the list. I can hit this little menu right here. It'll bring up all the Browns again, and then I can go, if I wanted to go to Jacob, I can go straight to Jacob. If I click on the picture, it's just going to give me a quick snapshot of his information. And if you click on this little caret right here, it's going to bring up the I want to. When you are done with a student and you no longer want to look at his information, you can take him out of context and hit the little X. And then that clears him out. And now you can search for another student. The magnifying glass here, if you wanted to find out how many students are in your building at a given time, you can double click, then double click again. It's going to say there's 47 kids in this building, and it's going to list them all for you. As you can see, I clicked on the little house next to the name. And it's just another way to get to this part of the profile. If I wanted to look at the student's profile, I would hit student profile. And then I can click through the tabs. I want to talk about the additional tab here for a second. You'll see right here the building progression track. When you register a student, you want to make sure that that student is on the correct progression track. The progression track is going to move that student from one building to the next year. So when promotion and enrollment is run, that is what one of the things that it is looking at. If that's incorrect, then that child is not going to move on. Also, you may have more than one in your district. You may have more than one progression track. That's okay, because you may have multiple elementaries and multiple high schools. They all go to different ones, and that's fine. So you would have different progression tracks set up. Some of you may have just one district one because you have a few elementaries that all go to the same middle school, who then all go on to the same high school at the same time. I suggest that if your elementary school ends in 5th grade or 6th grade, whichever it is, and your junior high ends at 8th grade, make sure by, I would say around this time of the year in the fall, check those grade levels and make sure that they are on the right progression track so that they will move on to the next building for next year. Because some of them, they're not, and they're still on an elementary track, and they're still going to be kept within the elementary, or they're still on the junior high track, and they'll still be in the junior high and not promoted to high school. Have the custom, this is where this came into play during COVID, where they were checking out connectivity, and if kids had devices or not, and if it was provided by the school or home. The private tab, the legal names, the birth gender has been added. The FS standing tab is the EMIS information. This is a quick glance at what is down below. You can just hover over it and it'll tell you what it is. Then you have your attendance. It's going to tell you how many days the student has been in school and how many hours that comes out to. From here, you can jump right to the absence alerts and intervention screen. And right here, you can click on student absences. And if you had any student absences, they would be right here. The FD tab, if you have access to, is going to show the economic disadvantagement, if they have free or reduced lunch, if they have a disability condition. FN, their grade next year, the 3rd grade reading guarantee boxes, FN graduate is going to be where they would mark if the student has met these requirements, their diploma date, their graduation date. And then transportation tab. Not everybody uses this, but if you do, if it's a high school student, you'll want to put in their license plate. If they have access to more than one car, then you're going to want to put in all the license plates that this student has access to. If you are a school that gives out parking permits and assigned spaces, description of the cars, and also the driver's license number. For the bus, if the student rides bus 6, we'll say pickup time is 7:30. drop off 3:45, stop location, mom's house. You could put the address in there. And then if she rides another bus, say she rides bus 3, I might put here mom's house, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then she's at grandma's on Tuesday, Thursday. And then save. As you can see, my name and date and time of when I modified this is now stamped here. Okay, that is basically going through a quick overview of student information. I'm going to go into student registration. And I know many of you use a different software, which is fine. To bring in registration, you may have OneView, Final Forms, eSchool View. But I do stress that you do research first before importing that information straight into the system. I know with OneView, there's a button that you just hit says import to Dazzle. Please research the information first. I've heard stories of parents filling out those forms and actually putting their own name. So then they're registered as a student. We've had parents who forgot that, oh yeah, Johnny did go to OME-RESA Elementary back in 1st grade. And now he's re-enrolling when he's in the 10th grade, but they forgot to tell you that. Or they just completely forgot that that's where they used to go. So then we have duplicate records. So I'm going to go to our high school. And I'm actually going to go into live just because sometimes the registration wizard doesn't act quite right in play. It'll time out, but since I'm using a fake district, I'm not going to mess anything up. This is my favorite the go-to box because you can cheat and you don't have to go through the whole breadcrumb trail to find out where things are. A lot of times you can just type in the keywords and it'll bring it up for you. So I'm going to type in registration wizard just so you can see it first. And this is how it's going to start out. So mom, dad, grandma brings in a student and says he wants to register, or the form came through to you. I'm not going to go directly here first. I'm going to go to the advanced search first. I'm then going to click on search all years and uncheck search this school only because I want to check, did this child go to school here even if it was in preschool? So I'm going to type in the last name and the first name, and I'm going to hit search. I'll scroll down and you can see there are no records to display. That means this Fred Barnes was never in the OME-RESA school district. You can search by birth date. You can search by social security numbers, SSID if you have that available. because it's possible somebody changed his name, or if you have the EMIS ID. So once I feel comfortable that I do not have this student anywhere within the district, I'll go back to the registration wizard. And I'm going to start inputting the asterisk fields. Put his birth date. It'll automatically calculate his age. Then we're going to hit next. As you can see, it skipped this tab, which was possible matches. That means there was no one in there that matched his name and his birth date. If by some chance it stops on this tab, I want you to stop, do some more research, because it's going to say you either have a strict match or you have a non-strict match. If you have a strict match, that means it's going to match his name, birth date, his EMIS ID. If you have a non-strict match, you might have to do some more research, like I said, just to make sure if you're going to accept that one or not. But here we're going to skip right to complete registration, and we have to make sure that the asterisk fields are filled in. So I have to do his racial group, his admission date, his free or reduced lunch, we'll say was applied, denied. If he's going to stay on the default calendar. And then we're going to put in his address. And I'm going to hit validate. What that's doing is making sure that this is a true address. If it came up with an orange triangle with an exclamation point, that means something does not seem right to the system, that it might not be an actual address. But if you know for a fact that that is his physical address, you can bypass the system by clicking this box, bypass address standardization. But then you need to document and put comments in here as to why you chose bypass. If he has a PO box, you would put it here. Otherwise, you can leave this check mark to say that it is the same as the mailing. The mailing address is the same as the residence. If you have a student ID or email, excuse me, you could put it here. If you need to change the admission reason, he's not newly enrolled in this district. We'll say we'll just leave it there for now. And then next. Then it takes you to the family group tab. You can search by the last name. And see if there's already a family group. And there he is, the Barnes family group. Then next takes you to the EMIS tab, and then you can hit finish. I want you to see we do have 2 Fred Barnes, but I'm going to show you why the system notice it is not the same. This Fred Barnes 2/6/2006. This one's 2/6/2004. Will you have coincidences like this? Possibly, especially in a bigger district. Okay, that is basically registering a student. And like I said, if by some chance you do register a student and it does duplicate in the system, there's one of 2 things to do. If it happens and you notice it immediately, and I mean immediately within a couple of minutes of doing this, contact your EMIS coordinator. He or she can then expunge the record right then, take it out, it never happened, and then just make the changes to the original count. Or if you had an error saying that an SSID was already in use or an EMIS ID already in use, contact your EMIS coordinator again, tell him or her the situation, and then they will contact us and we will have the records merged. If you didn't find out right away, let's say it's a couple of weeks, and you realize, uh-oh, I got 2 of these kids in here, it's the same kid, contact the EMIS coordinator, we can have those records merged as well. Okay, now we're going on to attendance. And I'm just going to show you a couple different ways to add attendance. So if you're, let's see, we'll go to this breadcrumb trail, SIS, attendance, attendance fast entry update. I want to take Freddie out of context here. It's going to bring up several fields that you can fill in. It's going to default to today's date. If it's an authorized college visit, you may have more or less within yours. I'll leave it as authorized. It was a full absence. I'll say it was sick. Absence note. Parent called. I can put in here, mom called, has fever. And then I'm going to search for students. Or if I know the student ID, I can search just by the one student ID. But if I'm not 100% sure, I'll hit search students. And then I will go down through and I'll be like, oh yeah, it was Mary Burke. Check mark her, save. And then it goes back to a blank screen. If I want to do this for a group of students, If I say it's authorized field trip, changes it to a non-absence. Like say 12th grade, 12th grade museum. I can search by 12th and then preview students. And then I can click on all of them because it's going to apply to all of them, and then hit save. And then I can go check one of those students. And there it is. October 1st, 2021. It's on the senior calendar. It's a non-absence because it's a field trip, 12th grade museum. And the date and time which I put it in with my name attached. Now, if I needed to add just an absence to a specific student, I can come straight to his school absences screen, hit add absence. We'll say he was tardy on Tuesday. Came in around 8:45. Mom called, missed the bus. If I have more than I need to add for Trevor, then I can hit save and new. But otherwise, I would just hit save. And it adds it right here. Now overnight, a process called add up EMIS is going to run, and it's going to calculate those absences, his tardy, and put it in here on what his hours are that he has missed for school. As you can see, the last time it was run was last night at 6 p.m. If you found out that, oops, I made a mistake on those seniors that went on the field trip, that not all of them went on the field trip, we can go back to SIS, attendance fast delete. We're going to search by 12th graders. I say, well, she didn't go, he didn't go. And then hit delete. And then it will take them completely out of here. Okay, as you can see on this screen, this one is actually going to give you one of those little fail safes. You want to make sure that you do want to permanently delete, because in absences, it is a hard delete for these types of instances. Throughout student information, they're not always a hard delete. They might just be made inactive, but here they will be taken out. And then these kids will be the only ones left with the field trip on their absence screen. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some reports that you can run within student information for attendance. I'm going to run the R309, which is an absence search detail, and it's going to generate a list of selected students and show the details of their absences for the date range selected. And you can either include comments or not. And I'm just going to type R309A into the go-to. And you need to pay attention right here because mine defaulted to a strange date. So I'm going to change it to 9/21. To 10/01 and see if we can get any information. And then today, I'm going to leave everything on the left-hand side. That way it'll pull all of this information. Then I'm going to hit submit. And then my batch management screen comes up. And I do have 2 pages of results. And as you can see, here's the Trevor Travolta with his tardy and his field trip. Those others that were on the field trip did not print out on here because it wasn't considered a absence, even though his is, but that's part of his record there. You can run the R310A, which is the homeroom attendance register detail, which shows individual students grouped by their homeroom and the month. These reports all basically work in the same manner. Make sure that the date ranges are correct. They're not defaulted to last year for some reason. See, it's homeroom 100 for August 2021. It's going to list all the students in that homeroom and what their absences may have been in this time frame. And then we have the PERF report, the perfect attendance report. Now this one within student information actually includes any student that might have a partial absence as well. So if you do not want that to show, then you'll want to run the one that's in the analytics hub. But we'll run it here. I have 6 pages of results. It's going to put a student on each page or a class on each page. So if your principal likes to give out at the end of every 9 weeks perfect attendance awards, then this is a way to give her or him that information. But like I said, it's going to include those with partial as well. Okay, we're going to be moving on to the Analytics Hub. Now, the Analytics Hub is filled with reports for several different areas. We're going to focus on the attendance. You click on the caret next to attendance. It's going to bring up all of these attendance reports. Now, there is one that we ask that you run at least once a week, which is the attendance skip student detail report. This is an important one because what this is showing is if a student by some chance was kept out of the attendance calculation. So for some reason their attendance is not being calculated, and it'll give you a message that explains why they're not being calculated. It could be they have perfect attendance, and you can ignore those ones if you know for fact that they have perfect attendance. Or there could be something wrong with their calendar or the time in, time out. Now the Analytics Hub reports all run pretty much the same way. You have these filters. You're going to leave the school year in equal to, and then you're going to choose the current year, school name in equal to, and you're going to choose the building you're in. Status name, you change this to is not one of and leave the value blank. And same with the grade level, choose is not one of and leave the value blank. That way it pulls all of that information. Hit OK. It's going to bring up the report. If you prefer to see it in an Excel spreadsheet, you can export it into Excel and it'll bring it out into another screen. But I'll show you right here. It gives the name, what building they're in, the year, their student number, what calendar they're on, their EMA situation, and then the message, student has no absences. As I said, if you know that for a fact, you can move on. But we'll see if there's any other types of messages in here. Ours are just, they don't have any absences. But this report needs to be cleaned up, like I said, at least once a week, so those kids are being calculated properly. So if I return to the Analytics Hub, back to attendance, then you have your absence threshold detail. Now you know that with House Bill 410, they have to keep track of every student's hours that they are missing within school. And once they hit a threshold, then an intervention has to be put in place. Sorry, it's taking a little time to load. It already has the school year filled in for me. I just need to put in the building. Now, as you can see, I do not have any buildings to choose from. What that means is I do not have anyone that has reached an absence threshold at this point. So if you open up any one of these filters and there's missing information, let's say you want to search by certain grade levels and you see grades 9, 10, 11, but 12th grade is not there, That means there are no 12th graders that have reached an absence threshold. Does not mean that the report is incorrect or the filters aren't working correctly. It just means there's no information for that report for this building or either one of my buildings. And then I don't have any grades to choose from. The attendance process warning detail also is another one that shows anybody who might have been skipped during the calculation process. And again, I do not have anything to choose from, meaning I don't have anybody that was skipped. You have your consecutive absence summary. And it's nice that they actually have the description of what each report is going to show for you. Now here's the perfect attendance detail by date range that I suggest running more so than the perf within student information. Because hopefully it'll be a little more accurate for you. I'm going to change to is not one of, and then I need to put in my dates. So I'll say from August 27th through today. And here's a list of all of my perfect attendance students, which is on 3 pages. And again, I can export it into Excel, a PDF, CSV format. And feel free, if you ever have any questions on how to run these reports, just send a ticket to us at dazzlestaff@OME-RESA.net, DASL staff@OME-RESA.net. Okay, that is it for the Analytics Hub for attendance. Now we're going to go straight into Easy Query. Those of you, some of you may have used it, some may have not. If you haven't, you need to know that it is a read-only application. You can't make any changes to the information that's in there. This information is brought over through student information. So if there's changes that need to be made, it needs to be made in student information. So if I go to my hamburger up here, I can click on Easy Query. And then you have your 3 choices. We got Easy Students, which I think is a funny name. Then we have Tools and Reports. We're going to focus mainly on Easy Students and some reports. A little bit on the tools, because some of that is mainly for your teachers. So if I go to Easy Students, here's all of the information that I can look up for any individual student. So I can look up his attendance, contact list, course history, course requests, demographic, discipline, EMIS demographic, enrollment, medical, membership service, schedule, shared student data, student fees, and student marks. So if I check out attendance, I need to put a student in context. And it's going to show in a pie graph that he has 100% attendance rate. He does have that tardy in the AM, which is his attendance incidence. And then it also gives you in text form over here so you can read it. If I go back to Easy Students, I can look at his contact information. As you can see, there are no records for this option. So if I look back here in contacts, he does not have any contacts. So if I have the ability to do that, if I'm allowed in the district to do this, I'm going to add a contact. I want to change it to Dad. Legal guardian, authorized to pick up, emergency contact, medical, living with student, available at work. Then I put him right in. See if it updates in Easy Query. It hasn't come over yet. Okay, we'll look at Hallie Brown. Here's her contact information. You can change it into any type of format that's more pleasing to you. And if this is the one that you like, you can hit set as default, and that's the way all of your students are going to appear when you look at their contacts in Easy Query. If I look at their demographic, it's also going to give every school year that they have attended and the calendar up until the current school year. You can look at the schedule, and this is her schedule for the day. If she has any student fees that are outstanding, and then her student marks if she has any listed. Okay, I'm going to go back to Easy Query and I'm going to take a look at the tools. You can do an absence list from here. The teachers can make their own seating chart from here, can run a student list, the teacher's class schedule. And that is her schedule for the year. The teacher directory, if you need to look up the address for the teacher and phone number. And then I do like this one, the upcoming birthdays, especially if you're a principal who celebrates everybody's birthday within the building. And you can do it in this form, a list form, or you can do it in calendar. Okay, I'm going to go back to Easy Query, and then we're going to look at some of the reports. You have the absence graph. I'm sorry, it's just spinning. Okay, well, we'll move on from there because I don't know why it's not coming up. It's just going to come up with a grid. Okay, now we're going to go to the reports, like I said. We'll try the absence graph again and see if that'll. It's just not liking that right now. So we'll go back to reports. And I'm going to take you to SIS student search. This one is used most often within Easy Query. It is a nice tool. Sometimes you'll be searching and it'll come down here and it'll say 0 results found. That has something to do with your security. So you will want to talk to your Dazzle account administrator, and there's a little box on your staff account that has Easy Query that needs to be checked. And if they need help with that, they can contact us and we'll get that updated for you. Here you can run it by ad hoc, and I'm going to show you how to do ad hocs here in a moment. You can go straight to the student tab. You can put in their EMIS IDs or their student numbers. Then to their enrollment, how you want to filter. Is it by all the default? If it's a gifted, if you just want the active students, or you can leave everything over here. If you want their address and contact information, their EMIS information. If you want to pull over all of those who are foster or non-foster court placed, you can do that. And then there's a miscellaneous, goes by their, you can put their bus number, their disability alerts, or any type of alerts. Or you can hit the next button. And it's going to take care of these 3 tabs up here. And it's going to take you to field selection, and you can do first name, last name, birth date, homeroom teacher, homeroom. You can go to their enrollment tab and you want to see the information of their student status, maybe their building grade, their attendance calendar. And I will run just that. So I'll hit next. And it's going to come up here with my selections. And here you're going to choose how you want to see the file. I always do CSV. and then how I want it. I want it to be downloaded straight to the computer. I'm going to hit finish, and it pops up over here on mine. Hit download, and it's going to open in Excel. And then it brought over all the information that I asked it to. Now, if I want to run a different report, if I don't want all of this information, say I just want their first name, last name, take out this information, and I want to do their address. Some of you may have a program in your school to run on your computers to print out mailing labels. You can use this format, run it in Excel, and upload it into some of those programs. So if I do mailing address street, mailing address city, state, zip, primary contact, first name, last name, as you can see, it says 48 students returned. And it brings up that information for you. Okay, that is basically easy query. Now I'm just going to do a quick overview of ad hoc memberships and the student profile bulk update for you. Ad hoc memberships can be used for many different areas in student information. If you want to make a change to a group of students' schedule, you can make an ad hoc for that. If you want to change their calendars, you can make an ad hoc for that. If it's only a select number of students, if it's the entire class, you would want to make an ad hoc for that. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that all of my kindergartners were left on a preschool calendar. So then I'm going to have to change it to a default calendar, or if I had a kindergarten calendar, I'd do that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my hamburger here, and I'm going to go down to my account and ad hoc memberships. And I'm going to hit add new ad hoc membership. And you can name it whatever you need to. So I'll do 21, 22. And here it's going to bring up that advanced search box that we showed you up here. And I'm going to search by additional info because I just want my kindergartners. So I'm going to click on KG. I'm going to click this box, students selected by default, and then hit search, because that means whatever name comes up, it's automatically going to check mark that. Then I'm going to hit add selected students. And then I have to hit save. That's a very important step there. You have to hit add selected and then go back down and hit save. And then right here is my kindergarten. So I'm going to first put them on a preschool calendar so that I can change it back to default. So if I go to my go-to, I can go to Student Profile Bulk Update. And as you can see, an ad hoc is required in order to run this service here. I'm going to choose the one I just created. Then I'm going to hit Next. And this takes me to the student record. And I need to change the attendance to the preschool Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then admission history. Effective start date. Then I'm going to hit Next until I get to the next tab that I have to change the calendar as well, the reporting calendar. Then I'm going to hit Next. I do not have to change anything on these ones, so I'm just going to go through. And as you can see, this is where you check your mistakes. The attendance calendar, I chose Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, but the attendance pattern, I chose preschool Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it allows you to go back and make that change. And if you're happy with your results, then you hit Submit. And it has been completed successfully. Then I'm going to look up my kindergartners by the advanced search, additional info. As you can see, he was put on the preschool 2 calendar. So I realize it's October and my kindergartners are still on a preschool calendar. So I'll go back to Student Profile Bulk Update. Choose that same ad hoc. Go down to the student record attendance calendar, put them on the default as of today. And then the FSFT attribute tab, change it to default for the reporting calendar. I don't have to make any other changes. And review. And then I hit Submit. This bulk update is also great in the ad hocs. If by some chance you do have to update your 6th graders or your 5th graders, whoever's moving to the next building, to change their progression tracks. You can do that in bulk as well. And I could show you where that's at. It's on the student record tab right here, building progression track. Okay, well, that is it for the secretary training. Like I said, if you need anything, to send us a ticket at dazzlestaff@OME-RESA.net. Thank you.